And welcome back to 0 to 60, where the three bearded weirdos of Liam, George, and myself are once again very kindly joined by the actual, factual Mr. Scott HowlingMines. How are we doing, gentlemen?
I've been here since last time. They haven't let me go.
That's how I get them all, mate. Liam and George once thought they could escape.
Yeah, we were only meant to be on this for one episode, but look what happened.
Yeah, I'm running out of food supplies. I could do with some help, honestly.
Hey, I without any spoilers, I know how many packs of bacon tucks you took back with you. You should be fine for at least another 2 days.
Okay, well, maybe we should run full headlong into the rambling here. Maybe there should be some context to this video.
No.
Well, potentially. So, obviously, we've just come off the back of a rather enjoyable, I think we can all agree, trip to Lille, where Mr. PT himself was involved with said PT while the rest of us slummed it down in the callings. So, what do we think of France, chaps? Did everyone have a lovely time?
It was a great weekend.
Thank
you for the insightful.
Damn it, both of you guys beat me to that line. Bloody hell, I was so close to saying it.
Yeah, Francis, all right. Thanks, Matt Rogers. Appreciate that. Anytime I was so deprived of going abroad for so long during the COVID period that anytime I now get to go and travel for a trip, I have a great time. I had fantastic company, got to spend some time on a boat, got to spend significantly more time in a car, got to spend a small amount of time in France. And all in all, yeah, it was pretty good. I had a great event that I'm sure we'll get on to talking about in a bit, and I had a great time. It's nice to travel and play card games.
No, I think I was trying to work it out since we got back, and I do think we spent more time in the car than playing Fab, which, considering we went to a Fab event...
I think you did, but maybe not the rest of us.
Yeah, it was close for the rest of us. For you, I'm pretty sure you spent more time in the car than France.
I mean, any game that's going on more than 30 minutes for me, I've probably lost. But obviously, all the travelling aside, the main event was obviously the PT. We had the calling, we had a battle hardened, we had all the side events, which I know a few of us participated in. So, I mean, I guess we might as well start with the man himself, Mr. PT. And I hope he gives a little bit more detail on exactly how the Pro Tour was. I mean, Liam, how did you get on?
So I cashed in 52nd place, finishing 905. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't sound so overjoyed, mate.
I'm just talking normally, man. What do you want from me?
You're on a podcast, mate. You're meant to play it up like a show. You don't talk like you're talking to your mate on the street. That's weird.
That, or just emotion might help.
I just want to talk. I'm going to go.
No. He's overjoyed. Go on. Tell us about how it broke down, mate.
I mean, so it started badly. So we started with 3 rounds of draft. I mean, I'm going to be honest, right?
Started like shit.
Yeah.
It did. The first 3 rounds of draft, I drafted Icelander. I drafted my seat, which I thought was fine. And then I showed Scott my deck, and he was like, it's a 6 out of 10. I was like, okay, I can live with this. I ended up going 1-2, which was not where I wanted to be, obviously. I believe I lost to a Phi in a very, very close game. I also lost to Dromai, which was awful. Just a bad matchup all around. And then went into the CC portion, which is where I put all my prep and time into. And day one was a cakewalk in CC. I don't think any of my games lasted longer than 15 minutes.
No, you pretty much flew through them from what we while we were doing other bits and pieces.
Man woke up and chose violence.
I had to. I had to save my PT run somehow. CC was where it was all at. I know 4-0'd in CC. Ended day one 5-2. Vishrai, good deck apparently, very good deck.
Imagine a Runeblade being good.
Exactly.
What, in Flesh and Runeblade? Never.
No.
Rare occurrence.
No.
Then going into day two, I was again 3 rounds of draft. I drafted a pretty cracked fire deck. Won the first 2 rounds fairly comfortably, and then kind of threw it. I'm going to say I didn't kind of throw it. I threw round 3 in the draft. I'm going to admit it.
You weren't very happy when you came out of it.
No, I mean, like, it's when you lose to variance, it's like you can kind of shrug variance off. When you lose to your own mistakes, it's like it's kind of worse. I think it's a bit worse, but it's
Well, that
definitely
might be
like
about to become a recurring story.
yeah. But it's definitely it's definitely at least you can learn from it, right? Like I made a run. I should have killed a dragon earlier.
Always kill the dragons, mate.
I went face. It was a calculated risk that he didn't have a 0 cost red.
Fuck,
in his
he's
arsenal.
shit at math.
No, it was that's you.
Yeah, true.
Well,
We'll get onto that later.
Spoilers.
I made a calculated risk on he didn't have a 0 cost red card in his arsenal, which he did. So instead of taking 4, I took 11.
Gotta love that red trading.
Red trading. Yeah, so that put me to 7-3. It should have been 8-2. And then I ended up going 2-2 on CNC in CC that day. Lost to Michael Hamilton Oldham, Johnny Chapman on Fi, and then won my last 2 games to cash. So yeah, 1-9-5, 6-2 in CC, 3-3 in draft. So there's definitely places to improve. But I'm going from 2-5 in New Jersey to 9-5 in Lille was definitely
take it.
a massive positive.
No, you should be really proud of what you've
for sure.
managed. It's like say after after what happened in New Jersey, and then
Utrecht was the worst.
I was going to say your last time out on the continent was not your shining moment.
I mean, Utrecht has probably been the most important event for me because it really opened my eyes into the way I was doing things wrongly, and I changed it a lot, both mentally and like with the prep going into it, and it clearly shown. So,
Man took water, got monster. I was going to say hydration.
We got him drinking water, and now he's winning events. Pay attention, folks.
Not winning yet, not yet.
Imagine if we actually get him to get some sleep beforehand. I mean, bloody hell, he'd be unstoppable.
He'll be fucking untouchable.
The Withenshaw Pablo Pinto. But I mean, obviously going a bit more into the event and was it the meta kind of what you expected in terms of the CC aspect rather than necessarily the draft?
For the most part, yeah. I actually wasn't too. I was only surprised at the amount of Briar. I knew Briar was going to be top 3. I didn't think Briar was going to be number 1. But like a lot of people were shocked at the amount of Prism, and I still wasn't because it's a Proto and people want to play Prism. It's still a good deck, you know. People say it loses to aggro, but it still finds a way. So no shocks to the meta really.
So, I mean, I think walking around, I was surprised, not that there was Prism knocking about, but there was just how much of it. I mean, obviously, without going into further spoilers for the episode, it potentially was the last attempt at being able to play her in a tournament. And she was a lot of people's pet deck, I think. Plus, she has some really good matchups into the Guardians. Well, I think as we walked around, obviously, on day one where we were just waiting around for the History Pack Sealed team event, which was another story. I was surprised at that, but then there was such a wide range of decks as well. Was it 10 heroes represented or something like that?
Way more than that, I think.
I think 14. I think
it was everyone but Azalea.
Was this the for the PT in general? I believe it was just everything but Azalea.
Yeah.
Which I think, considering the state of the last PT, where it was obviously the triumvirate of Starvo, Chain, and Prism, I think shows just how much the game's moved on and how nice it is not having something that's so ridiculously dominant like Starvo was.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there was like 6 decks that had like a reasonable amount of people playing them. We can get into conversion rates in a bit because some of those were crazy and like very, very impressive from some of the lesser played heroes. But like you can take a look at the metagame breakdown. It's pretty clear people brought like 1 of 6 heroes mostly, and then a lot of people that are like specialists brought their specialist choice, and that kind of made out the rest of the field.
Yeah, just looking at the data now. So there was 7 heroes that had over 27 people. Bringing them along. After that, it starts to drop off. But yeah, it was obviously Briar being the main, Viserai, and then we got Prism, Phi, Oldham, Bravo, and Dash. So I think most people expected those heroes to come out. But I think Prism in the numbers was a surprise to me at least.
Like you've already said, Scott, the conversion rate on those heroes was mad. I
think it's like all but 1 Oldham made day 2, which is it's kind of mental.
I don't know what that one Oldham did to deserve such a fate, other than just probably some sort of mirror as a winner.
Probably suck at draft.
Probably draft and then queued Prism.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, so the amount of prisms knocking around, it only takes a couple of. Takes what? What was the record you needed to day 2?
3-4.
3-4.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think that does say a little bit to obviously that the conversion rate there is obviously it wasn't the highest bar for in terms of a win record for day 2. There was quite a lot of day 2s, obviously just with the size of the tournament, I think, and everything else.
I mean, you can literally 3-0 your draft, lose every game of constructed, and,
exactly.
And make day 2 of a PT, and cool, my hero turns up in the day 2 conversion rate, and it fucking won nothing. And that's not a good look for your hero. So
no, I think the draft obviously element going into it, there was obviously the talks of forcing Fi. I know there's a few people who might be Icelander fans knocking around, but again, spoilers. How did you feel about the draft when, in terms of the pods, Liam, what actually shook out of it in the end?
So the first pod was split 3-3-2, I believe. Was it 3-3-2? Yeah, 3 Icelander, 3-5, 3 Dromai. I think all my pods were split 3-3-2 in that, but I think that's the kind of the pod layout they want us to be in. It was always 3-5, always 3 Icelander, always 2 Dromai. The first pod was a bit wonky. I expected the person to my left, which was Nick Butcher, to be on Dromai. He ended up on Fi. Then the person after him was Dave Carf. I expected him then to be on Fi, which he was, but I don't know if he should have drafted Dromai in this situation. But then the Dromai ended up next to him, and his deck was fairly cracked, not going to lie. The second draft felt way more comfortable because I was in the Fi seat, and I feel like drafting Fi is actually really easy if you're in a Fi seat. I think drafting the other 2 decks is far more difficult.
Yeah, I think the other 2, with Icelander, just knowing what you're doing, I think there's not as many people. I mean, obviously at that level you kind of expect them to be, but I still don't think people are as comfortable on Icelander. Probably the same with Dromai as well.
I don't know. If it's about. I think it's a difficult one because you get punished so hard in this draft if the person next to you decides to switch, like drawing a pack. But you should be able to read the signs before that happens. But the person to your right should tell you what to draft, right? Basically, they go, "I'm drafting Dromai. You don't draft Dromai." Then you draft something else. You tell the person next to you not to draft this. You're supposed to work with your neighbors so everyone gets a functional deck, but not everyone sticks to that.
I think the era of discomfort for Uprising Draft is mostly gone at this point, honestly. Folks have for anyone playing competitively has drafted the format enough to kind of understand the ergonomics of the first couple picks of the draft, which means that most folks have kind of figured out the how to identify your seat stuff as opposed and realize how bad it is if you go, well, I'm not drafting Icelander. I don't like playing that deck and just end up with an absolute train wreck as a result. You really have to take what's given to you in this format, and I think most people have kind of adapted to that well. Arguably adapted a bit too fast. I think it takes some of the excitement out of upcoming events, realistically, like national season, even like Worlds. I wish we had another draftable format on the way because Uprising Draft feels pretty darn solved to me.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I mean, I don't know who you'd potentially mention who definitely wouldn't want to draft Icelander, but I do think that people have either genuinely got better at reading the signs or just with the smaller packs, people knowing they have to settle a little bit earlier into which hero they're going to play, that you are ending up with a bit very much a solved kind of meta in terms of
it just took practice, and I think the drafts are still very interesting. That you end up with some very unique decisions, especially in early picks of Pack 1. But there's not as much flexibility as you'd like in a draft format, which means it's just been solved pretty quick, I think. So,
yeah. What do you think, George? I know we didn't get a chance to do a draft at the weekend, but
yeah, no, of course, obviously not playing the Battle Hard, we didn't really get the chance to draft. So, Yeah, I mean, I've only done a couple of competitive drafts at this point, so I can't really disagree with what these guys are saying. I think it has been fairly solved. The format's a hell of a lot less flexible than TOA was, which I think is what we got used to, where you could stay open for multiple picks. So, yeah, pretty much just a reiteration of what these guys have said.
Fair.
WTR draft at Worlds, please. Thank you.
Oh, please.
I know that'd make Liam very happy.
Please, that would make my day. That would, like, I'd be unstoppable at that point. Let's go.
Liam does love himself a little bit of WTR draft, but like I say, we didn't get to draft at the weekend. And we did get to do, I think we all got to do at least one history pack sealed, which is fun, but I think obviously our main event was the calling. So, I mean, less about what I did. Obviously, I turned up with Dory. Went really well until it didn't go really well. I think obviously more interest. And then George, how did you get on with your girl Lexi?
Yeah, not too bad. Ended up getting 5 wins. Not quite as well as I'd hoped. It was just more a case of started well. Had a decent early win into a Phi. Deck did what it was supposed to do, and then round 2 ran into a Bravo. So pretty much my worst matchup. The matchup's winnable, but it wasn't something that it relies on my opponent's deck not doing what they want to do more than me. More than whatever, I can draw the best hand ever. If they spine or crush every turn, there's not a lot I can do. So it just ended up being he didn't really miss more than I hit what I needed. So that kind of threw me out a little bit. Then got a couple of wins, and then took another loss to just in a close race to a Viserai, and that was kind of my tournament at that point. Obviously, lost I think one more after that, and then won the rest. But that's because just with a reasonable finish in what turned out to be a massive calling. So it was an enjoyable tournament, but yeah, not quite the finish I was hoping for.
No, someone who did have a far more interesting time than you and I, George, was Mr. Mines himself.
Oh, you give me too much credit, Brooks.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm not going to take any of your thunder now, my dear boy.
Yeah. So I guess for those that aren't aware, this calling was really large. It was a 570 plus player calling, which for European callings is really big. We haven't had that many that are that large so far. And of course, PTIs only go to the top 8 of that event, and I am proud to report that I finished 13th. We missed by just a smidge. However, we were playing a hero that not everyone was ready for, or not everyone thought was a reasonable choice going into the event, and that was Iyslander. I was proud to report I went 10-3 with Iyslander to finish in 13th. 2 of those losses were also to Prism, who, God rest her soul, is now firmly in hell. So we don't have to worry about dealing with her anymore. And the other loss came to a very experienced Dash pilot who knew how to navigate the matchup. But I really can't complain. My first 2 rounds of the event, I got paired into a Prism and a Dromai, and I should have been dead in the water immediately after hitting those matchups. And yet I woke up on that Saturday morning and I chose violence. And I didn't lose. I didn't lose at all. I beat a Prism and a Dromai with Iyslander. And I started day 1 6-0, which is something I have never done in a Fab tournament before. I believe I've only done it in a single tournament before, in every card game I've ever played. The boys will tell you, my 6-0 match was exceptionally tight against a very skilled Briar player. It came down to the wire, and I had to kill them by responding to a Frostbite popping with a fused freezing point off of a Stormstriders to score an extra point of damage. And the amount of adrenaline that was going through my body afterwards, I think I could have lifted a car. It took a real hot second to calm down afterwards. It was a lot, and then unfortunately for me, I sat the last 2 rounds of day 1 out by hitting 2 of the Prisms that were at the top table and taking some pretty swift, ungodly losses to them both. The matchup was obviously pretty close to unwinnable, but I ran really well on day 2. As I say, I only took the 1 loss on day 2 as well to the single Dash player. I'm actually really proud of the deck I built. And the work I put into it. I'm very proud of how I played as well. I think outside of, unfortunately, one mistake in the Dash matchup that I think did cost me the game and probably could have been remedied or avoided if I'd played slightly tighter. I think I played really well, which I think Iyslander you have to do. But yeah, good for some cash. Good for $200 from the calling, which is fantastic. So I'm now 2 for 2 on events with you boys and making cash while traveling to them. So I like you. We can keep doing this as long as you want. It's fine by me. And yeah, really kind of just blessed for it to have gone the way it's gone. The outreach has been fantastic. I put up a lovely video about the deck for people that are interested in that and want to go check it out. But the outpouring's been a lot bigger than I expected. I think a lot of people are very passionate about Icelander, and some people, bless their hearts, were just kind of happy for me. And it's been a long time since I've had that, and it's meant a lot. A lot of people have obviously wanted to learn about the deck and get some feedback in messages and stuff. But some of it's been less about the questions and more about the "you did good, kid." And I needed it, I think. I really did need it. And above all else, it's kind of lit a fire under my ass. For several of my own personal reasons that we're not going to go into, don't think I'm likely to go to Worlds just because I have other priorities in life. But being that close to a PTI and being that close to a PTI my way, and choosing to take the path that I wanted to take over the one that I thought I should take, really lit a fire under me and it's kind of put blood in the water. And I got one more shot at Nationals, and I hope this audio recording lives forever as a testament to the fact that I'm calling it now, and you will not stop me. I am winning that national championship.
I mean, to be honest, you should be very proud of what you did. I mean, turn up with Icelander, although, admittedly, on the even up to the morning before, there were other options on the table.
Don't ruin the story, Brooks. Don't ruin the story.
I think there's
full disclosure, folks. I almost pussied out. I have pussied out of playing Icelander before. I wanted to play the deck in Utrecht, and I bailed and played Fi because I couldn't convince myself to do it. We walked to the tournament floor of the PT on the Friday and saw fucking oceans of Prism, and I was like, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I can't play Icelander in this event. I'm going to die. And obviously, when I got paired into the first 2 rounds that I did, I thought I was going to hate everything for the rest of my life. But I swallowed the pill, and I decided to put fun over winning, and also mostly just get some reps in for when Prism was gone, which is what I also kind of thought heading into the calling. I also just didn't think I was going to be the best Dash player in the room if I played Dash, which was my backup choice as second deck for the day. So I lived with my decision, and thankfully for me, it paid off.
No, like I say, kid did good. But like I say, I think the fact that I remember when we started walking around the room, like obviously my games are over a little bit quicker than yours on average.
No. What's talking about?
When you finish my game, I think I was getting like some sort of Rune Blade probably. Walked over and saw you were against was it Prism first or Dromai?
So I hit Dromai round 1 and then Prism in round 2.
Yeah, Gem was not your friend, and we're like, it couldn't have been worse. And he smashed them both, which
Gem tried to stop me.
You could have had a very different tournament, to be fair, if those had gone another way.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I mean, no one's going to be surprised when I say this, but I got otherworldly levels of lucky over the course of this event in spots where it mattered. And of course, those Dromai and Prism matchups were perfect examples of that. They're just really, really bad matchups, and my opponent drew poorly. I drew well. My opponent made some small gameplay mistakes, and I didn't. And those were the edges that kind of got me over the line there. But make no mistake, those matchups are atrocious, and you really do have to get very, very lucky to bail you out.
So the lads in the Manchester Discord, it's not a 60-40 matchup in the slightest. But in spite of how bad that matchup is,
for the record, it's not as bad as some people think it is. Like, you'll take Dromai over Prism all day, every day. It is much, much better for you, but it's like maybe 75-25 at best. And probably worse than that, to be completely honest.
But in spite of what Gem was doing to you, that wasn't your best story from the weekend.
I got a couple.
I mean, to be honest, I think the Bravo is still. If you want to know how things are going things are going your way,
if you want to know when the day is trying to help you out, I mean, I found it. So of course, again, got just otherworldly lucky to be beating these illusionists, and I kept running into matchups I didn't want to see. Like, admittedly, round 3, I was quite happy to see an Oldhim, but round 4, I hit a Rhinar, and Rhinar is not fun for Icelander as well. That one's real shaky. And then it was like, okay, round 5 at Bravo. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, Bravo is like the next worst matchup after the Illusionists. Like, somebody help me out here. Like, this is not a good day for pairings. And of course, it didn't matter because my opponent, who, full disclosure, they've been great with me on Twitter and stuff. We've had some banter about it. And they were a great player. They played very, very well, except for one small mistake that unfortunately did cost them the game. And that mistake was mostly the fact they forgot to present Anathos. Which is really bad for Bravo, as you might be able to imagine. So we're about 12 turns deep into the game. My opponent plays their imposing visage, fetches up Showtime, and it goes to Pitch of Blue to their hammer, and it's not there. And at this point, we both realise that it isn't there. And of course, it hasn't been shuffled into the graveyard. It hasn't been shuffled into the deck. These were both things that were checked by a judge, who then confirmed it was just still in their deck box, and it had never been presented at the start of the game. So my opponent had to try and beat Icelander to death with his fists as opposed to a hammer, and almost fucking got there as well, which was probably the most concerning part of that game, to be completely honest. But yeah, you want to talk about running good in spots where it matters. Your Bravo opponent forgetting to bring a hammer probably helps.
Yeah, I mean, I know we had the conversation afterwards about, what hero would be the most devastated by not presenting the weapon, and I think Dory's still probably the worst.
Yeah, I think it was close between you and me, Brooks, but for us at least, you're the worst without your weapon.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, always make sure before you when you shuffle up your deck, just make sure you've got a weapon.
Yeah, you Bravo players out there, if you're looking for tips on how to beat Icelander, Anathos is a good start.
But no, I think you woke up that morning, you chose violence, and the morning after, and smashed it, mate. So you should be really proud.
Tried my best. Obviously, still a bit gutted to have come one short. The calling was really quite large, and I don't get me wrong. I always knew that I want PTIs and stuff. I want to play Pro Tours. It's kind of what I'm in the game for. But I don't think it sunk in necessarily how much I wanted it until it was in reach. And then to have unfortunately made a gameplay error, which I think is probably one of the very few gameplay errors that I made over the course of the weekend, that definitely sunk me in the Dash game, and to fall short because of that is quite heartbreaking. I am proud. Don't for a second think that I'm not, because I didn't think if you'd have told me 13th place 10-3 at the start of the weekend, I'd have snapped your fucking arm off and it wouldn't have been particularly close, But when it is in reach, when you start 6-0, your only losses are to Prisms, and I guess, for lack of a better phrase, you're playing as well as I think I was. And I know that sounds big-headed, but I don't mean it that way. I think most people know they feel different when they're playing well. Like, you feel at a table, you feel like you're noticing things maybe you'd miss otherwise. Sequences feel very smooth. You're making plays that make you feel very clever. And that's where I was. I felt like I was playing exceptionally good Flesh and Blood over the course of the weekend. And it feels like, unfortunately, in a sad sense, I kind of wasted that. And that sucks. So I'm just going to win Nationals to make up for it, and it'll be all right.
That's fair. And I mean, I think there's an interesting learning point there as well. I know you mentioned it while we were there, that the fact that you played 13, 14 rounds with Icelander, you got so little break between rounds. Let's face it, did you have any games that finished before the
Brooks,
45
I gained more life from Heart of Fiandel than I had minutes break all weekend. I need you to understand, man, that I ran to the end, I ran to the clock so much in every round because the deck is so grindy, and I had to be the guy, unfortunately, in certain matchups where it's like, my dude, I'm playing like lightning, and I promise you, I know you don't know how this matchup goes, but it goes fucking long. You need to speed up and trying to convince some people to play a little faster. But it always feels like you're trying to shark, because you know the problem is with Icelander as a deck is a lot of your very powerful turns is because you caught someone out. They think they can make a play, they start going for the play, you make Frostbites and disrupt in response, they don't get to make the full play. So when you're like, my dude, you gotta hurry up, you're wasting my time, and they try and do something and speed up for you, and you catch them out, you feel like a real dick for putting the pressure on. So you have to kind of find that fine balance of like, hey, this matchup's going to go long, and also not being a rambunctious ass in the face of doing that, which is a weird balance to find. But yeah, I think the longest time I had left after finishing a game was 12 minutes all weekend, and most of my games ran down to like either 1 to 2 minutes left remaining on the clock, or went to the final turn of the game, or had time extensions from deck checks, and we ran into the time extension. So it's a fantastic deck, but it's a lot of fab to play.
Oh yeah, it's not one you get a lot of breaks on, is it? In a tournament, I think there was multiple rounds where we came and saw the end of your game, and the next guy was pretty much waiting at the table, ready for when you were packing
next
up.
round might as well started,
Exactly. They were there and ready to kick off the next round.
I think I recall 3 times in the event having to grab a judge and be like, "Hey, sorry, I was the guy you were just waiting for to finish the round. I need to use the bathroom. Please watch my stuff, and I'll be right back." Because there was just actually no window between like finishing the match, grabbing your stuff off of a table, and having to get to the next one.
Yeah, it's an absolute grind, I imagine, playing that over the event of such a big event as well. I mean, I don't know if we mentioned the exact number. I believe it was 575 players.
Yeah, 570 plus, which gave us an extra round on day one. So instead of 7, you were on 8.
Yeah, which just makes it an absolute monster of an event. Playing a deck like that requires that much thought, it's a real endurance.
Yeah, and I think it's the thing that you learn. It's something that obviously going into the next one, I think it is just, I know the amount of reps you got in against Liam and the other guys on the server in testing, just to actually get through that amount of fab, and
100%.
And the level you were doing as well.
I think if I hadn't played those test games, I'd have been in some trouble, because I don't think there was any point in the weekend where I felt like I was playing slow. I had 1 or 2 turns where it's like, oh, dude, this is a really complex decision, I have to think. But for the most part, my pace of play was just very, very quick because I knew it had to be. And to the most part, a lot of my turns are very much like Coronet Arsenal Pass or Arsenal Pass, because you've done all the stuff in your opponent's turn a lot of the time. So you spend time like mutually thinking on the opponent's turn, and then your turn really can be like super quick when you're not on like, complex freezing point turns, because they kind of, you have to have planned your turn in your opponent's turn. So
yeah. But I think like going back to the point, obviously in the Dash matchup where, there was just that small error. I think you're going to get, with the amount of fatigue that you're going to get mentally from just playing that amount of fab and such a complex hero at times, it's naturally going to happen. Unfortunately, it's just obviously how it fell.
But sadly, like I've been a big advocate of this for years, is that's the difference between a top 8 and not. And like literally in this case, quite literally, but I mean it in the metaphorical sense more than anything else. So when I hound at people that I love and I appreciate to be like, look, you gotta try and rest, gotta eat, gotta drink, gotta keep your brain ticking over. I do it from a place of like, my dude, it's going to cost you a PTI. Like it sounds like I'm taking a piss, but like it's the difference. That is the difference. And you didn't stay hydrated. Your brain had a lapse of judgment, and the one play cost you a match, and that's the whole tournament dead. So to, I guess, all the listeners in general, like, I don't want to sound like your mother, but like, drink shit, not literally, of course, and like just eat while you're at events. It'll do you the world of good, as opposed to like pumping yourself with coffee and praying.
No, I think the fact we went to nip to the Carrefour, obviously supermarket over there, got sandwiches, got food, got drinks, and obviously certain people were not drinking some sort of pink monster. I wasn't drinking Pink Monster. I wasn't praising you for a change.
I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Liam's accepted that he had to make some changes there. Man was drinking water over the weekend, and like, again, you can't ever tell someone to do this, but like, just I like to call myself a veteran of the card game sphere because I've been doing this for so long, and like, it is a noticeable difference. Like, imagine trying to run your engine on the wrong type of petrol. That's what you're doing if you're eating badly, drinking badly, when you're trying to play an event. It's okay to be a tourist. It's okay to fill yourself with fucking drinks after an event, celebrate whatever, go out for good food. But when it's time to compete and you're trying to play at a high level, your diet is important and it will make a significant difference in your long-term results. And I mean that.
So when we do book our trip down to Nats, if there's anything other than a bottle of water in your bag, Liam, you're getting a slap.
He needs cards, Brooks. He can't play without cards.
Well, it's room blade. They're not really cards at that point. They're just. But anyway, obviously, that's kind of the wrap up of the event. I think, generally speaking, we'll come on to it in Vexing Malice. There was a couple of little things, but the event ran really smoothly. I think LSS and Fab can be really proud of what they did. I think the PT was really good. The calling ran well.
Yeah, I think the side events ran well as well, which was a bit of a change from some of the other tournaments we've been to in the past. I felt like they ran smooth enough. We didn't try on the on demand of it, but then so I don't know. I can't really speak to how they went, but yeah, the whole experience was very good.
And obviously the cosplayers deserve a lot of credit as well. There was some incredible efforts. Someone in full Solana armor. There was someone dressed as Dromai. There was the Benji that actually won the whole thing.
Yeah, there was. If I can take a second to do the reverse of a Vexing Malice, it's gonna be about the cosplay situation when it comes to Lille. Like I'm a big cosplay guy in general. I like to do a lot of cons and dress up, and I kind of always feel like I'm missing out because I'm playing an event and I don't feel like I can play an event and compete properly while being in costume. And maybe that's me. Maybe that's my problem. But no other card game takes the community, like the cosplay side of a community, so seriously and with such love and tender care as Flesh and Blood does. There was a break in the calling for the cosplay contest so people could go over and compete if they were playing. There was huge crowds, and I'm talking like 3 figures of people watching and cheering and taking photos and getting involved, and guest judges and professional cosplayers, and just an all-round incredible appreciation for a part of a community that is so often ignored in the TCG space, and it filled my heart with joy. And I mean it in the most surrealist of senses. I'm so glad that part of the community exists, and if there's anything I would bottle and sell, it is that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that buzz that was around there, like I was literally waiting for a game because we were waiting to start the round. We got the pairings, but like I say, there was people who were playing who were up there, and seeing the huge crowd be able to sort of just enjoy the moment and watch them give away I think it was 2 Taylor promos, give away the Welcome to Wraith guide. It was brilliant. And everyone who put the effort in, the Fee and Dan was there, and there's so many people doing it. It just made it so good.
If every event ran like that, the world would be a goddamn better place. It was like, I had a good weekend, and it was arguably one of my most treasured memories of that weekend is watching that side of the community get the recognition it deserved. It's like watching the community as a whole, as a whole piece, get behind those people and support their passion. And fuck, I love that. There's nothing I love more in the world than seeing passionate people get recognition and care for doing something that they're passionate about. Like, more of that. LSS, if you hear this goddamn podcast, I will yell at you loudly. More and more of that, please. Good Lord.
Definitely more of that. And, I mean, at the same stage, I think it was obviously one of the things that they kind of promised was in the PT chat beforehand. It was obviously spoilt one of the cards from Dynasty. So we now know what the Emperor does.
Certainly do.
Is it a meme or is it going to be a player?
I think we need the weapon.
Right? The weapon.
We need the weapon.
That's exactly what I was about to say as well. I don't. It's too early to tell, right? I mean, he's definitely going to be a very unique hero, but until we see his weapon, which we all presume will come along, and there'll be something unique there.
Warrior wizard.
I think quite the set.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we've got a new talent in Royal. We got our first dual class hero. I mean, I hope it works. I've got to pull the French Command and Conquer at the weekend, so that'd be a nice little thing to be able to play. I mean, paying 3 to go and search it out, but only having red cards. But all the war. I mean, there was the running joke at the weekend: how do you make something a rune blade without making it a rune blade? But
it's all good. Hero's got a flame scale furnace. You ain't got to worry about paying for things. You'll be fine on that one.
Yeah, Command & Conquer is perfectly priced at that.
Yeah, exactly. It costs 2, which is great for the second spell you play that turn. It's very, very much the case. I don't know. I think the hero is quite cool. It is definitely a little Runeblade-esque. And it's a bit of a shame, really, that it's kind of feels that way for the first dual class hero, but it's really cool. And I think it's just far too early to tell whether or not it will be any good until we know how the weapon works. It's just going to decide its play patterns, right? At the end of the day, as to whether you're looking to do something like Viscerai is and be like card weapon swing, or whether you're looking to be like card off furnace and hold the weapon as a reserve. Really, so until we kind of see how the hero is going to play, I would be unsure. But my instinct leads me to believe that the Emperor of Volcor is quite an iconic character. Like the idea of creating the royal talent for a hero like this is going to have some, reasonably impactful decisions. I think in the future of the game, the hero shouldn't be bad. I think the character lore-wise has been hyped up so much, and obviously with a real dramatic reveal in Lille at a PT to show it off, like it feels important as it should. And I think if a bad hero feels important, that's poor design.
Yeah, I think like I say, obviously, I agree with everything around the weapon. I hope to see that some other characters might get the royal thing. I know Shiana's obviously in there, like as a royal shapeshifter or something. But I'd like it. It makes me hopeful for the set. Not that I wasn't already, but because I know we're due some spoilers very, very soon, or at least some information.
Yeah, September 1st, so it should be tomorrow from time of filming.
Yeah, unfortunately, it got delayed because it was supposed to be yesterday from when we're recording this. But
I'll let them off.
Dynasty looks like, and some of the art they spoiled from was like the World Championships article. It just looks great.
I fucking love Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
Sue me, I guess. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I got passionate talking about the cosplay situation. Like, fuck, this game is awesome.
Yeah, Fab's doing good. I mean,
I don't care if it's doing good. It's just fucking cool.
Well, I think it's got cooler on the basis of obviously something we didn't mention around the calling was obviously, and I assume everyone knows at this point, obviously Prism did finally get those last 2 points she needed. She can walk into the sunset, hopefully into the sun.
Let's raise a toast for all those Prism players who now have to find another thing to base their personality off. Cheers.
How sad. We're terribly aggrieved for you.
Yeah, so that, no more Prism, no more Luminaris. Liam is suddenly a happier man. He's drinking water. Look, it just makes the world a better place. Obviously, we got the banned and restricted straight afterwards, and there wasn't any changes really. Blitz is the only one where they made Stare and Snapback not just suspended. They're just straight up gone. Whether that's to do with the Emperor, I don't know, but I think
it might be a bit forward thinking. It might also just be they decided the format was better off without them.
I hadn't really thought of that until just now. My brain was like, they just don't want Kano to be that good. But you're right. I mean, maybe there is some forward thinking there. Hadn't really considered that until just now.
I mean, I'd be probably quite surprised with Stir, just with it being its cost of 2. It seems like it's a lot for that character to get past. But I guess it may be the case that's why. Until we know what his card pool looks like, it could be.
Yeah, because obviously it's just the last time we saw a change like that. Obviously, it was Stubbies. Obviously, they got banned in advance of the set by roughly about the same time period. But I think, from what I've heard, Blitz doesn't seem in a bad place. I can't say I've played much of it recently. I know you boys got an armory of it the other night.
I think I'm mostly happy with these changes, to be honest. I don't know. I think Kano, how do I put this politely? Kano's kind of the hero, and also Icelander as well, to be fair. It's like just kind of the heroes in Blitz that kind of scare me in terms of what you're printing for CC and how it scales down into Blitz. Like, it's really hard to interact with large amounts of arcane damage in Blitz, so I really don't mind. Like, they've clearly made some suspensions to try and keep the hero where they want it, and they seem to have found it. And if that's the case, like, cool, get them gone. Just get them, like, don't give people hope that Snapback might come back. You know what I mean? I praise the definitive decision to be like, cool, we're happy with this. It's now banned and not suspended any longer. Just because it makes it clear, right? No one's got their hopes up of getting things back before Worlds, right? So,
and especially that thing, so we have got Blitz in Worlds, so I don't think there was any more LLs outside of Prism, but obviously with Prism gone, do we see the meta changing? Obviously, it was relatively open anyway in Lille.
Is grass green? It's really hard for I think the metagame to not shift as a result of Prism leaving. She was just like, as we kind of discussed the last time I was on the podcast, like easily the most polarizing hero the game had to offer in terms of matchups, just because of her play patterns and the Spectra keyword.
Yes, yeah, the Spectra particularly, it kicked a lot of the format by all means.
I mean, it can even come down to like decks even changing how many fucking sixes they run, just because they don't need sixes anymore specifically. So like, it can open up more deck building options for people.
And as a newfound Icelander main, we're okay with Prism not being legal anymore. You know, and I don't know. I think the Guardian players are pretty happy. Same thing. Their cripplingly unwinnable matchup disappears into the sunset. You know, the Wizards, same thing. Wizards couldn't beat Prism either, and we get that benefit too. Whether or not those heroes now remain good enough to play into the expected, you know, it's pretty clear. Like Briar is the kingpin after the PT. You know, various versions of this, the Matthew Folks, you know, belittle Briar with Spellbound Creepers and all the tomes and stuff. The more traditional versions of Briar, and then even like you know, Pablo Pintor's Viscerai list up there from the top 8 as well. Like Rune Blades are the deck to beat, which I mean, when aren't they realistically at this point?
Yeah, it's so for some time.
So the question is really that does these spare slots that these Guardian decks give it more game into Runeblade? You know, is Wizard good enough into Guardian that it can afford to, you know, not have to, you know, change how it's playing against Runeblade? And I think that's kind of what we'll see going forward. I think the biggest winners of this Living Legend, I shouldn't say banning, but this Living Legend, definitely Wizard, definitely Guardian. And it will be whether or not they can challenge the existing status quo as to whether we see anything change or not, I think.
No, because I think, like I say, Briar's now, like I say, I think it is the kingpin. She's the highest in terms of LL points as well. That's how
deck is crazy. I really enjoyed the deck tech done by Fabled Academy for Matthew Folks' winning list from the Pro Tour. Not only does it seem like Matt's, you know, humbled quite a lot, it clearly meant quite a lot to him in that deck profile, which is lovely to see. You love just things feeling like they're important. But they talk about a lot of the lines that he and his teammates played over the course of the event. And when you've just got a deck whose average 3-card hands are pushing 17 damage, and some of their real like high roll hands are pushing between like 30 and 57, which I believe 57 damage turn was the highest recorded by one of Folks' teammates over the weekend. It's really hard for that deck not to be deck one of a format, just because it doesn't matter how good your matchup is into it. Sometimes it's just going to do the things, and you're just going to die.
No, I think they called it coin flip Briar, didn't they? Because you know you got your standard sort of channel mount heroic, trying to do force of nature things, and just completely blow you out the water with those 80 damage turns that we've seen. But when something can do it relatively consistently, it's hard. Like I say, it's hard for it not to be the top deck. Yeah. I think she only needs to win 4 Nats.
Something like that, yeah. But
there's not a lot of things for the bigger ones particularly. I think that is the one thing that surprised me, at least, is I think this is probably because Prism did LL, is this ban is suspended. I think a lot of people thought we'd be seeing Belittle on that list of banned or suspended cards.
I was so ready to get banned, and it just didn't happen.
I think it's just because the format shifted up now that they think they'll probably leave it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it before Worlds hitting the ban list, to be honest.
It's on borrowed time, I'm sorry. Like I'm now firmly in the Matthew Folks camp of Belittle being broken. The more I see it, the more I understand it. And the card just breaks the rules of the game. And the more we print cards that break the rules of the game, the more problems we have. And that is Belittle. You know, when you can fix your balance of non-attack actions, have a 1 for 6 with Go Again that is finding you a non-attack action to play off of Spellbound Creepers, so you can play less non-attack actions than you should have to make Spellbound Creepers work. it starts getting silly when Creepers is already a borderline very, very good card, and now you're getting to cheat on the requirements to use it effectively. All right, now we're talking some really dangerous mojo, and
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredibly flexible card, and I think it's been in too many of these high-end aggro decks now that I just would be very surprised if it isn't banned by the time next comes
giving
around.
aggro decks a way to find blues, please.
Yeah, they don't actually need help paying for stuff.
Yeah,
they need to have a weakness,
but no. It's a question I got asked quite a lot about Icelander, just for obviously people who have lost Prism are looking for places to move and they're interested in the hero. And it's like, what's the Briar matchup like? And like, yeah, you are favored. It's one of the reasons to play Icelander is you are ahead, but not by as much as you'd hope. Because again, sometimes you just get mowed down. Channel Mount Heroic is a terrifying card, and in the Spellbound Creepers versions, especially, if you block incorrectly on a snatch and they flash in a Channel Mount Heroic off a Spellbound Creepers, oh buddy, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care what hero you are. A 57 damage turn is probably going to do you in no matter who it is. That's
100%.
There ain't enough armor in the world that's protecting you from that. But we do have. I mean, the next announcement. Obviously, they can make one whenever they want. The next scheduled announcement is October 3rd.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we see anything before then, to be fair, with going into a competitive season that now starts in 2 weeks. Was it a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that?
Oh my God, that's so close.
Yeah, that's really is not far away, gents.
On the way.
But I think they're not going to touch anything now. They had that announcement, so they could get. I assume just because they knew if Prison does anything, they want to give her a chance to go away for Nats to be able to just.
I assume you mean Briar, but
no, Prison disappeared.
I mean, Prism's gone already. Yeah, like we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I saw about the announcement we just had. And
sure.
Yeah, but that was scheduled regardless, right?
Yeah, and obviously then the one on it in October potentially to get rid of Briar, and if they do feel that Belittle and Minnowism is, if Briar doesn't for some reason do it, and Belittle and Minnowism doing dirty things, that's probably the time it might disappear. It gives people a month before the Worlds to actually prep and test.
I'm not a big fan of the idea of banning heroes, honestly. I think if Briar fails to make it, maybe you have to just ban Belittle Minnowism. But even then, Briar's still very playable without it. I think Living Legend is meant to be a way of rotation. And if Briar fails to win 4 out of 37 national championships, she's probably fine for Worlds.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think she's
okay. I think if we didn't reach the threshold of what should have been a bannable hero with Starvo, I don't think Briar meets that threshold either. Like she's a much fairer hero than Starvo ever was. So I think given that they started doing that, I think it's fine to let LL out, particularly with how close she is now. I don't think we'll see a first hero ban anytime soon.
I think it ruins the magic of the whole Living Legend system if there's a risk of your hero being banned early. It just doesn't sit great with me. The whole point is if they're that good, they're going to be retired quickly. Then you should never be banning them really, because then you defeat the whole point of the system, right?
Yeah, I agree.
No, well, I'm just hoping. Obviously, hopefully she will win 4. She'll join that janky format in the sky of Living Legend, which, to be fair, would then have 4 heroes in it, which is kind of what they said the minimum benchmark was for a Living Legend style event. But
I think they're going to wait a little longer on that, just because all of the heroes that are LL just like too recent in the memory, if that makes sense. Like none of the car pools changed or anything. Everyone still knows how to build them and kind of understands the premise. But I've got to be honest, the more like I'm left waiting for Living Legend as a format, the more I'm actually kind of excited for it. I think in a few years' time, it will be really interesting to see these juggernauts of formats gone past, like smash skulls against each other. It'll be really cool to see how unnerfed Briar does into Starvo. It'll be really cool to see how whatever the next printed LL hero does into like a deck like Chain, who it would never ever have seen because they didn't exist at the same time. And that appeals.
Chain.
I'd definitely be a fan of waiting around a bit longer as well, just because, as much as anything else, that we'll have heroes with a massively expanded card pool by the time they become playable again. You know, once we've
100%.
got 2 years more of Runeblade cards, what does Briar look like? What does Chain look like?
Yeah, LL as a format is so much more interesting to me when we have possible matchups that didn't happen already.
Yes.
Like at the moment, the format's just replays of like matchups from standard, CC past. I shouldn't say standard past, and that's cool and all, but kind of boring. We've seen it all before, right? Need to get to a point where heroes are getting LL'd that never saw each other, and that's when that format gets interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to say, Chain with Seeds back, with Rosetta, with whatever nasty tools he wants running into Starvo is something I would love to see, and exactly how that
Seeds of
plays
Agony, I have missed you.
I don't think I haven't.
I mostly miss the clips being playable, honestly, but you know, it's the same thing.
So I think, unless there's anything else there, chaps, I think that's all we all we said in terms of banned and restricted. So
I think so.
I think we're left with, as ever, with being the guest, Scott. You get our Vexing Malice slot for 3 minutes of ranting about a topic of your choice.
Any excuse for me to yell about things.
Choose violence, dear chap.
Always choose violence. Alas, this time my Vexing Malice is a little more community-based than it is personal, like my last one. And that is that the prize structure for events that are supposed to be large needs to be looked at and needs to be addressed. The Battle Hardened in Lille this weekend was absolutely huge. It capped out, it sold out 256 players, 6 rounds of draft. And that means that if you do not make top 8, you get nothing at all, because that's how the prizing works in the Battle Hardened. And to top 8, you had to 6-0. You had to not lose a single game of draft to get any prizes in a €65 event. That's fucking theft. Like, that's just highway robbery in the most brutal of forms. Why is this event not giving out any prize tickets? Why is there not prizes for positive records or better? You don't have to do all of these things, but something would be nice. It is completely tragic to me that your event is so top heavy that you want to give cash to your top 8 and PTIs and gold foil promos, which are great. It's the whole reason to play a Battle Hardened, qualify for the Pro Tour, etc., etc. 5-1? No, sorry, mate. Doesn't matter that you won 5 more games, 5 times more games than you lost. €65 in our bank account. Off you fuck. And that's a fucking terrible, terrible business model. And it left such a sour taste in so many players' mouths from their side events over the weekend. And it just makes Battle Hardened look like a joke. People chose to draft on demand. People chose to play more Team Seal with their friends. If that's your goal, to make the Battle Hardened, a backup option that no one should touch, well done. You're doing a great job at that. But Battle Hardened is meant to be a step up. It's meant to be a competitive level you can aspire to play an entry point into the PT, and instead, it felt like you were trying to mug off your community, and it's one of my biggest grievances from this weekend. €65 for no prizes for anyone but the top 8 is not an acceptable price point. End of.
No, and I think it's something, I think we've said it before, because the Battle Hardened New Jersey had prize tickets, the Battle Hardened in Madrid had prize tickets, although that wasn't initially the case. I even said it. I think it was obviously when we realised I wasn't going to make day 2 of the call-in. I was like, don't really want to do the Battle Hardened, and if you two are still in it, I'd quite happily just go and see more of Lille, because paying €65 for effectively 6 packs, and if you've gone 5-0 through your drafts and your last game is still a winning in, is ridiculous. Like, it's just not, like you say, I don't mind it being the case that you have to 5-0 to get a top 8, but there should, like you say, some sort of prizing structure, some sort of ticket rewards, especially when the things on the prize wall are so expensive for tickets as well.
I guess this is the hill that I'm going to die on, right? And hopefully, someone clip this, I guess, send it to LSS, make James Whale, I don't give a fuck. You've got players who are so passionate about your game that they were willing to travel to a different country, deal with the expense that comes with that, the hotels, the accommodation, the travel, the food, the drink, the event, and all of it. They footed the bill because they're passionate about your game and they want to play and they want to compete. And you have all of those players in the same room, and your event was so expensive with such a bad prize payout that they thought about being a tourist instead. And if you're losing those people, you have those players in the room who've traveled from America and all over the globe and to play Fab, and they're sitting there and going, I'll just go be a tourist in France as opposed to paying you any money, which at the end of the day is what you want, your business. Like, you have made an error. They want to play. They want to give you money, and you're actively giving them reasons not to.
Like I say, I think if there'd been prize tickets on offer, I probably would have played it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, it wouldn't have taken a lot to convince me. I was looking forward to the idea of doing some draft, but yeah, it just having nothing available at all, having literally having to top 8 in such in a tough format, in a tough field, that your odds of going 6-0 and making that and getting anything from the event is so narrow. It's incredibly tough.
To top that off, one of my first thoughts upon going 6-0 in the calling was like, oh, I don't have to pay to play the Battle Hardened tomorrow. How is that one of my first considerations? Like, the relief of not having to spend 65 more euros to be allowed to keep competing. Like, I'm undefeated in a big event. Why am I not just excited?
No, like I say, I think it's like if you just purely do it on a value perspective, obviously, like you say, there's PTIs, there's gold foils for the top 8, and they should be there. I think they should reward that. I think we did the HP one, team sealed. We had a great laugh. I played KO, and we all but we got a box between 3 of us, and that was €45. So for €20 less, we got far more in terms of packs because we didn't have the opportunity.
And that awarded tickets.
And we got tickets.
I mean, it wasn't a fantastic number, but we got tickets from it. We had something that we could go and get from the prize wall afterwards. And like you say, in all likelihood, if we played the Battle Hardened, you walk away with nothing after committing the whole of your day to playing in the event.
Yeah, look, I guess this is like super under my skin more than I thought, but the more I think about it, the more it really does fucking grate on me. To a lot of people who turn up to an event like this, especially a Pro Tour, something that's the pinnacle of the game, maybe they don't compete very often. Maybe they work a lot. Maybe they don't get to travel to very many of these. Maybe they just financially can't afford to. And they wait for them to turn up to be close to them instead. So when that happens and when they make the effort to go to your event, how the hell are you denying them a souvenir? Why are you making it a situation where they have to play an expensive event and there's no chance they can even take a playmat or a card or a token off the prize wall as a thing to remember the event by at all? Like, at the very least, give them some tickets for entering. If you want to keep the prizes top heavy and not have them be a round by round thing on a Battle Hardened, understandable, cool, I get it. It's meant to be a pinnacle of competition. They're always top heavy. That's fine. 100 tickets for entering is not going to break you back, and it means those people that did turn up and play that side events, they have a chance to get something that lets them remember that they were at your event. And I guarantee you that means the same to them as it does to you.
Let's say I know we got the Hummingbird promo for just entering the call-in. I mean, if you bought the failed package, you also got some Starvo sleeves. Plus the Pro Tour, you got the Ivafidia mat, which was great. But like I say, I think just for the Battle Hardened, it just felt like the bastard child that kind of gets forgotten and just.
Man, I did not know how much this had fucked me off. Like,
it really has got under your skin, this one, hasn't it? I can't blame you.
You gotta stop giving me a platform to yell at people. Like, the second you're like, yeah, do the thing. Here's a segment where you're allowed to get pissed off, and my brain's just like, let's fucking go. Like, it's just like,
I mean, we were going to change the name to Mounting Anger, but I think just
it might be more relevant at this point.
I was going to say you kind of epitome of it, but I do think it's like I say, it was all in all fantastic weekend. I think the Battle Hardened was very much a letdown in my eyes for the whole weekend in terms of what it should have been, but it didn't overshadow, like I say, the stuff with the cosplay, how the events were run, how the HP1 stuff was run, which outside I went to ask a few times for the actual product, was great. It was good fun, and there was some great people there. So it doesn't overshadow the event, but it just kind of, like I say, just it gets under your skin and go, you should get something. But Liam, you've been quiet. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Nothing really. I'm just letting you.
Man's been enjoying me getting angry.
Yeah. Just wind him up and watch him go. Well, I think, chaps, that pretty much covers it. So, unless anyone's got anything else to add, I think we can call that a wrap.
No, I guess I'll throw it in there one final time for folks that might have missed it earlier. If you are interested in Icelander and CC and you want information, you can either come and poke me on social media like a lot of people have been over at HowlingMines, or I made a video also on the HowlingMines channel on YouTube for like an hour long just talking about, why I played the cards I did and some of the basic play patterns and stuff. So if you're looking for a place to start there, feel free to go check that out.
Yeah, and we'll put the link to the video below as well, just for to try and make it slightly easier than scrolling through YouTube. But no, thank you very much, gents. Liam, George, I know you have to be here, but Scott, an absolute pleasure having you on again. And
my pleasure, man.
Fingers crossed we get to spend a little bit more time with you down at Nats as well, and hopefully get that PTI.
Another 2 weeks and you're stuck with me, and I assure you, the gloating after winning that thing, oh, good Lord, you're not ready. Now that I've put a cool shot on camera, when I win that event, my ego is going to break walls. You are not ready.
Yeah, just don't force people to eat the shoes. I still don't get that.
I come out with some shit, all right? Sue me.
No, well, we could do that, but I've still got the German Teklo Foundry Heart, so the Teklo Gusha.
Yeah.
Well worth having. But no, thank you very much, gents. And for anyone who's still listening, thank you very much, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Good night.